Okay.
I'm stoked. Okay. So, Melissa, I want to do a deep dive into the life of a stay-at-home mama because nobody's happy, literally, just like our children.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's happy, and everybody thinks that the grass is always greener.
So
And
true.
there's pluses and minuses to everything in the world.
Mhm.
So I first want to talk about what was your decision? Like how was the decision making in deciding that you were going to stay home with your crew?
Well, I had thought for a long time that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. It was something that I kind of always wanted.
Mhm.
And my husband and I got married pretty young, and then he was doing his master's program. So I was working as a teacher for about the first 3 years of our marriage. And then he got a job as a pastor in Nebraska.
Mhm.
And at that time, it was kind of like we both just sort of knew that I would stay home. We were like going to start a family, and that was just kind of like always our plan. And then that obviously didn't happen for us right away. We had a long period of infertility for 5 years. And so I was sort of like working in the church and then also kind of still staying home. And so like our kind of marriage sort of like the like bulk of our marriage was spent before we even had kids, that I was
Okay.
kind of staying home and not having like a paid job. So then when we did have our daughter, our first daughter who's 5, it was just like kind of a no-brainer at that point that we had been living on a single income. And
Mhm.
so it was just sort of a natural kind of decision that we had made previously
So
having our.
with that previous decision, like when you were younger, right? Like think like little girl style.
Mhm.
Did you did you purposefully plan out your life knowing that you wanted to find a partner that would be totally cool with you staying home with your kids?
I wasn't looking for that like when I was like looking for a husband or
Mhm.
whatever. Like I wasn't looking specifically for someone who was just gonna like, support this like stay-at-home lifestyle. But um I think when I met my husband, I think that like our values and everything were aligned. And so it just was like kind of confirmation that that was the
Yeah.
direction that I was supposed to go in.
It's funny because I don't think that many people are like, this is going to be my life's plan. And I
Mm-hmm.
want this to happen because you really don't know where your life is going to go daily, let alone, in 5 years. But
Right.
it's wonderful when the stars align and
Mm-hmm.
it gets to happen. Now, some people decide to stay at home and have, like a lot of regret about it. They
Mm-hmm.
might leave a career that they always had, or they may have had visions of what their life would be like. With that being said, did you ever have a time in your life where you were like, yes, I do, I want to go pound the pavement and pack a brown bag lunch and change into sneakers when I get to the office? Did you have those moments in your early life that that's something you wanted to do?
You mean like have a career outside the home?
Have a career outside of the home, yeah.
Yes, I definitely have had those feelings. I had that like in the beginning of our marriage for sure, like, especially in that infertility time, that was really
Yeah.
hard. And like now I think as I get older and I see like my friends progressing in their careers and like having these like big successes, and they're moving up the corporate ladder or like getting raises and having all these like work experiences, there's definitely been part of me that's like have I in some way missed out on something by choosing to stay home, or am I like not, like not bettering myself as a person by this decision that I have made? Yeah, so to answer that question, yes, I've definitely had moments where I have thought, would it have been in any way better or different if
Yeah.
I had decided to pursue like I was a teacher, for 3 years. I did kind of have that experience, which I think sort of helped to like make that decision, because like I do kind of know what I'm missing out on. And like,
Yeah.
every time, even if I do maybe feel those kind of regrets, I'm like, I still pick this. Like I still, I know kind of what that world feels like, and I know
Yeah.
what this world feels like. And like hands down, every time I would pick staying home with my my kids. And like a big part of that for me is like we tried so hard to have all of our kids and it was such an arduous journey to get here. Like I just want to soak up, not that like other moms don't feel that way, but like I just like want to soak that up
Yeah.
so much. Like I just want to, be with them every moment of the day if I can.
Yeah, it's tough when you have a long infertility journey. It's all the sweeter when they finally get here. And there
Mhm.
is that, it's a tough decision to make, right? Because you definitely have to sacrifice a lot of things, and but it goes both ways. So
Mhm.
there's no winning this. When you're looking at the choices that you made, your kids are still wonderfully little, which is really great. But for 5 years, if you had infertility for 5 years and your daughter's only 5, you're only matching right now. You're just
Yeah,
balancing out
right. Exactly.
with what the world was, shoulda, coulda, woulda been.
Yep.
With knowing that you're kind of there. How has it been? Is it everything that you thought it would be? Have there been moments of hardship where you might wander a little bit, but with equal time now, has it been what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I think the short answer to that question is yeah, it's definitely been like all I hoped it would be. I think I've had like, motherhood is challenging and hard. And like, when they're like brand new babies, they come home, they cry and you don't sleep. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, like I just need to sleep. Like this baby is so like taxing on me. And then when I had all those feelings, then I would have like this huge load of guilt because like I tried so hard
Yeah.
to get to this moment and like it's not super fun every moment with babies or little kids, like when they're disobedient or really giving you a run for their money. Then it's like, well shoot, I wanted this so bad and now I'm like, this is actually like really hard. And then like the guilt that kind of comes along with that, and I know that's something that a lot of people who have had infertility deal with, that kind of guilt, because there's like this idea that you should just be all rosy all the time and like never ever be like, man, I just like need to go get a coffee sometimes and like get out of the house and
Yeah.
take a breath. And so, that's something that I've like personally really kind of tried to work on and give myself grace for. Like, just
Yeah.
because I had that previous experience doesn't mean that I have to be any like certain way in this new phase. But yes, for the most part, like it has definitely like exceeded all of my hopes and dreams and expectations for what being a mom would feel like.
I love that. I love that so much. And when the days are bad, I remember when the 20s, when my 20s were little, my sister would come up, and I too, I have five solid years of infertility. So I'm right there with you,
Oh,
girl.
really? Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Literally could count the days.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also got married when I was young. And I think that that's where the issue kind of starts, because you're young and they're like, oh, just go on vacation and
Yeah.
relax. And you're like, okay, yeah, how many, I can't afford another vacation.
I
So
know.
for us, I remember when things were so bad, and like exactly like you said, that you have like this, I waited so long for this. My
Mhm.
sister would come up and like the babies would be screaming, and
Mhm.
she would say, I just want to gently remind you that you paid extra for this.
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, she's right. She's right. She's right. All that IVF. So it's
Yeah,
it's so funny how we did pay extra for the trauma of raising our children. That's definitely, and you get
exactly.
that little twitch. But I'm so glad that it's been what you thought it would be. And what are some of the things that you have, like let's say with the twinnies, right? They're two now.
Mhm.
And you didn't have to worry about the stress of finding a nanny and finding, a
Right.
night nurse or anything. You knew that this was going to be it. Do you
Mhm.
think that changed the way, or changes, plural, because it's still going now, the way that you raise the kiddos, because you know that it's just you?
Yeah, I think I definitely think like there's some decisions that we have made. Like for example, like my plan was to breastfeed them,
Mhm.
exclusively like without a contingency plan because I wasn't going to like be going back to work in 3 months or
Yeah.
whatever. And so like good or bad, like, I put tons of pressure on myself to breastfeed these twin babies and it was hard. It was like really hard. It was way harder than breastfeeding my singleton.
Mhm.
And so, um, I didn't try really hard to like give them a bottle, which, then that creates issues with like being able to get away and all that. And so I'm trying to think of other decisions. Like right now, the phase they're in, um, they're kind of like entering into a phase of like being pretty sad when I do leave anywhere I go.
Oh, that's
And
heartbreaking.
it is, yeah. And so like one of them will start crying, and then by the like all three of them, like because my older daughter, she's like really attached to, and so whenever I go anywhere, it's like all three of them are crying, and that's something that I see as different from like the people that I know that work and have their kids in
Mhm.
daycare.
Yeah.
They're just so attached.
Yeah. It is. It's a hard separation when you spend, 24 hours a day together and then you just vanish. That's what it is to them. So you're just
Yeah.
puff, you're up in smoke, you're never coming back. But yeah, it's true. When you do go to work, they know the drill. They know that you're going to leave them. It's going to be hard at first, but then you always come back. Have you made an effort about that, about like strictly saying, okay, I'm going to go out every day at 1 o'clock to kind of get them used to it? So then, when they're in school, this isn't going to be such a hard transition.
I haven't actually tried that specifically. That's a good idea, but we're kind of, my husband and I are just like sort of now talking about ways to kind of like consistently have some part time like that. And so we're working on like trying to find a weekly babysitter like once a week, or we're like working on getting them in our church nursery.
Yeah,
We still
that'd be
haven't even
great.
done that yet.
That would be great. See,
So
and
just
that's so important, honestly, Melissa. And I'm glad that you're doing it now because the kids are still little. And
mm,
the sooner that they could get used to that, the better. Because I think what a misconception is that when people stay home with their kids, that they don't need a break, because
mhm,
they would say, oh,
yeah.
well, that when the twins take a nap,
Mm,
you could do this. And when your daughter is, playing with her friends, that you could do this. So it's a big, big, big misconception that people who are home, that were sitting on the couch all day eating bonbons and watching
yeah.
Oprah, when you know that it is definitely not that.
Mm-mm. No, and you definitely need like I like a bit of self-care, like a coffee with a friend, or I think that stuff's super important. And I think like I've seen in other relationships that I've had, like when women don't do that, it can be like
Mhm.
detrimental to their families.
Absolutely.
And and they kind of it kind of like breaks down at a certain point, and they sort of like they can't just like keep going that way. And so my husband has a pretty flexible work schedule, so we kind of I try to like in the week, like have like a couple of things every week that's like where I'm getting out, and, even if they're with him,
Yeah.
where I can just kind of go and recharge a little bit. Cause man, it really kind of does. There's a lot of days where it's just like, it's a lot having twins. I don't know,
It's
like two,
monotonous. It's a lot. It's like
yeah.
the movie Groundhog Day when you stay home. That often, if you see, it's like you see the same people every day, right? Your coworkers or your kids. And you're
Yeah.
like, hey, Bill, how was last night? Oh, that's right. I live with you. I know exactly how last night was. There's no real exciting stories to tell. So
Right.
there's, it, like I said, there's the good and the bad. Now, speaking about your husband, how's he handled this whole thing? Is he more of the, I really want you to stay home until they go to school? Or is he more like, do what you want, Mel, you do you, boo? Like, what's his whole take on, on your family?
So he likes the fact that I stay home. It works really well for our family because his job is kind of, I don't know, it's like when you're a pastor of a church, you're sort of like your work life and your
Yeah.
social life are sort of overlapped. And so I am able to kind of jump into the gaps where he needs help. And so like that together makes us an excellent team. So yeah, so he has been really supportive of the decision for me to stay home and wants me to.
Yeah.
And which I understand, like there are some families that maybe don't have that kind of support. And I think that would be hard to make the decision,
Yeah.
because it's a financial sacrifice to stay home for your kids. You're choosing to raise them and do that kind of thing instead of like boosting your bank account.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sacrifice for everyone, but I think, and we think, and he thinks that it's definitely
Yeah.
worth it for our
It's not
family.
it's not always a sacrifice though, because honestly, Melissa, it depends on where you live and how much, help costs.
True.
So, and then, too, if you are going to work, then you have expenses like, you need clothing and you're going to have
Yeah.
new transportation costs. And then you may have to, get your hair done more than once every 4 years. Like there's definitely, there's an upkeep kind
Right.
of to it. That's not just like your flat out salary. And then
True.
also depending on what your career was or is,
Mm,
and the rate that you have to pay somebody
mm,
after you do the math, which I always please, if you guys are pregnant and you're listening to this and you haven't done the math, you need
hmm.
to do the math.
Yep.
Because at the end, we had one exercise in a Twiniversity class that was live in New York City pre-pandemic. And I said, okay, we're going to take 15 minutes and I want you to write out what your salary is. Here's what the average salary is for a nanny in New York City. Here's going to be, what the average takeout is going to be for twice a week because you're going to be tired. And then we got dry cleaning and we have laundry and we have, if you have a housekeeper. And then I want to see how much you have left at the end of the day. And of course, there are some careers that are like, this is a no brainer. I make $17
Yeah.
billion a year. Like,
Right.
don't even insult me, Nat. Why am I? I don't even, I do math for a living. And then you have people that are like, holy crap, it's $2,000 is what it's going to
Yeah.
come out to at the end. And so, is it worth the $2,000? Obviously, if it may be, there's definitely people who need to do something
Mm,
and have to do something outside of the home because it's just too much. It's
yeah.
just too much on like all the time. They're on you. It's a lot. Now, with that kind of concept of doing the math and knowing what it would be, do you at some point consider going back to be a teacher? I would love if you did, especially in the kids' school. How much fun would that be?
I know. I've thought about that actually. But at this juncture, we're actually going to be homeschooling our kids. So,
Ooh,
because I am a teacher, I have a
why
teacher.
not?
So yeah, so
Yes.
this is like really working well for our family. And so
Love
that's
this
so
idea.
we're like really into the
You're
stay at
in.
home
You're
stuff.
in. Are we growing our own vegetables yet? Are we
Yeah,
off the grid
right.
100%, Melissa? Where
I
are we on the scale?
I wish, we're like right in the city of Denver, so no, too bad. But like I need to like figure out, those like hanging planters with the
Yes.
tomatoes. I need that.
Yes.
Like that's what I need.
You could do that. If I could grow fruits and vegetables on my fire escape in Manhattan, you
Actually,
could
see,
grow
I
tomatoes too. I
I could,
would.
yeah.
Mine are attacked by pigeons all of the time on a regular basis. They eat more of what I actually won't eat what grows on those because of all the traffic and
Yes.
pollution, but still I do it anyway because I like the way
Yeah.
it looks outside my window.
I mean, it's awesome. It's like a little bit of the country right there.
I think if it's something that you want to do, I also think that it's a fun thing to do with the kids.
Oh
And now
yeah.
that's another thing. So as a teacher, right? Because I do love that. I love, we have so many wonderful teachers at Twiniversity. I feel like it's either
Oh,
teacher
cool.
or nurse that seems to have twins. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
those are like the trending
They're like ready for
professions.
it. They can handle
Yes.
it.
So I feel like Mother Nature's like, throw an extra one in there. We're used to this. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. So by being a teacher, do you have a stay-at-home schedule? So,
Yes.
do you have like, okay, 9 o'clock is reading time? And how militant is it? I want all the dirty details on what it's like in
Okay.
your house every day.
So yeah, I have a really strict schedule and like
Is
my
there a
five
binder, Melissa? Do we have a binder? Is there a procedural manual of what the day is going to be like?
yeah, it's on my phone. So like I'm constantly backing my phone up because if I lost it, I would like seriously be in trouble. But my 5-year-old, she's in preschool still, but I'm doing a lot of homeschool with her. So our day starts at 6 a.m. I get
Oof.
her up and we homeschool from 6 to 7:30.
Okay.
And my husband gets the twins up like at between 6:45 and 7. That's when they usually wake up. And then we have breakfast. And then like each day is different. Like Mondays, I take them to a little art class at our local um rec center, so it's like my 5-year-old helps, but like the twins like do art as much as they can. Last time Kaden was like under the table the whole time, but it's an art class. Anyways, and then
Perfect.
we have like a zoo day for the morning time. And then, so it's like a little bit different each day of the week. We do like an outdoor adventure day, or we like go to a park or like go on a I don't know, we have like so many awesome walking trails. So sometimes I just give them like a little Ziploc baggie and we just like go for a nature walk, and they just like pluck a bunch of stuff, put it in the bag, and then we bring it home and put it under like contact paper, and like that's the morning.
I want to play this
Uh,
game. That
I'm
sounds
trying to
great.
think. That's like the main things that make up the week. Yeah. So, and then it's like lunchtime and nap time. And then we have like kind of a leisure afternoon after all that.
Well, it's a busy morning. See, that's the key to staying at home though, in all sincerity.
It is.
So when
Oh,
people are like, I can't do this anymore, I think it's because they haven't found their groove.
yeah.
And you have to find whatever that groove is. And it doesn't have to be that you go to the zoo once a week. It just has to be like, there has to be a little bit of structure. And
Hmm.
are the kids going to care? To be honest, they're actually going to care if they like it. Everybody likes it. You're going to like it, even if you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to follow a schedule. There's
Yes.
some, there's some comfort in having a habitual schedule that's just regular and everybody knows what's happening, and it's
Mm.
comforting. it's
Yes.
it's the when people stay at home and they just it is the I am going to watch Oprah on the couch for 2 hours because it's rough.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different way of doing things, but the majority of twin parents, put the teacher aside, the majority of twin parents do eventually come to the realization that there has to be more structure,
Yep.
because it just gets boring and it gets monotonous and
Yeah.
you don't know what to do.
And when twins are bored,
Yeah.
it gets destructive too. It's like that's what I have noticed. Like my little girl, she found up somehow in the drawer that I have baby proofed like a million times a permanent marker and colored all over the couch. And like if we're out having a nature walk or like at the zoo, like that
Yes.
stuff doesn't happen as
Did you
much.
get it out of the couch?
It did. Turns out if you use alcohol, rubbing
Yes.
alcohol, it comes
Yes.
right out.
Beautiful. Another good
Amazing.
thing is, if you don't like, depending on the material, there's those cleaning wipes called tub of towels. They're
Oh,
fantastic.
oh, good. I have
They're
to get
great. They're great for nail polish too. Like if she gets
nice.
into the nail polish, I'm
Yes,
telling
that's
you,
coming. I'm sure it's coming.
you never see it coming. You know,
You
my son
don't.
took a Sharpie and drew all over my computer monitor because he was using it like a mouse.
Yeah.
But honestly, Melissa, it was there for years. I never
I,
even bothered. I just kind of like looked around it.
I mean, you just gotta live with stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that was it. Now that I think about it, the first edition of What to Do When You're Having to was written on that monitor, and I
No.
couldn't see. Sometimes if I was like, is there an L there? Because I couldn't see it because the line from the Sharpie. It's just what
Nice.
you get used to.
Perfect.
That was one of those moments that you're like, I'm just gonna breathe into this and just let
Yeah.
it go.
I thought
Yeah.
I might be getting a new couch for Christmas.
I love
Maybe.
it. I love that
We
idea.
figured it out, so it's good.
Then I say give them all the Sharpies if this is what
Yeah.
it's going to take for us to get to the new couch level.
Right.
I like that. So now when it comes to sleep, let's talk about that for a second,
Sure.
okay? When you have these kind of issues of, the twinnies are teething and we have some sleep regressions, and then you have your daughter who may be like, no, I'm done with this. How do you manage 3 kids and nap time? Do you run it like a school, or are you still running it like a mom?
Um, so we we started sleep training our twins at like 4 months, I want to say.
Mhm.
And we read actually a really good book. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. It's like sleep training for twins or something. It was like a
Okay.
multiple sleep training book. I'm sorry I don't have the name of it, but
Don't get stressed. We'll
it
find
was
it.
really helpful. And so we followed a lot of the tips from that book. And so I think that's really where it started for us, was we
Okay.
like at that point in time established just like really strict, like a teacher strict bedtime routines and nap routines. And
Mhm.
so we just really like tried hard to kind of do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And that has sort of morphed a little bit over time. And like now our 5-year-old, she doesn't take naps anymore. So we have like a quiet time where she like plays in her room, and the twins still do the same nap routine and they sleep. And like it's the same time every day,
Mhm.
sticking to the schedule.
Yeah.
And then, they have the same bedtime, because I think that's really important. Like the routines and stuff around sleeping, I think is really important. It kind of like helps them sort of decompress and get ready for sleep. Um,
It's definitely true. The routines are critical, and that's what I meant by, or do you deal with sleep like a parent or deal with it like a teacher, right? Because a teacher's not going to have such a flamboyant, the bedtime routine.
Yeah.
It's going to
Right.
be more good night, love you, see you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
So we have like with my 5-year-old, we sing 3 songs and we pray, and that's the end. Like it's not like one more, one more, one more, or like,
Hmm.
there's been periods where she would, they all have periods, like you said, sleep regressions or whatever. And you have to like make decisions. Like, is this a time where I'm going to like reinforce this with like, lots of snuggles and things that make them want to keep doing that behavior? Or am I going to like make, do the hard thing? And like, it's been different depending on different times. Like, Kanan just kind of had, recently, like in the last 2 weeks, he kind of had like, I don't know if it was a regression or what, but like he was waking up every night at 3 a.m. and like wanting me to go in there and give him. He has this little lion that he like can't find the lion. So I have to like go give it to him. And I was just like finally decided I'm just going to go in there and like give him the lion every night at 3 a.m. because he goes right back to sleep. I'm not going to like, go back into sleep training mode and be like, show him who's boss or whatever. So I think it just depends on the situation. And like he like worked it out and now he's back to sleeping all night again.
I
And
love it.
so,
Got to
but
read the room. Got to read the room and see
right, there's
what's
other
going
times,
on
right, when you're like, they're just doing it to like
to get you.
manipulate you. Yeah.
Yes.
And like, you got to be like, this sleep is important for you. And, you need to go back to sleep. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you feel that your husband does as much as he might if you were both working in the home? Like, do you feel that it's an equal distribution of chores and tasks, or do you feel like you carry the majority of the load because you're home, as they
yeah,
say?
right. My husband's amazing. He's probably an anomaly, but he helps me a ton. And this is something that we've had lots of open conversations about. Like, I can tell him like, I feel super overwhelmed by the laundry, and he'll be like, okay, we'll fold it at night together, and he'll help me out. I try to do as much as I can just because I know he's doing a ton with all that he has going on. But like,
Mhm.
if I need help with whatever it is, he'll definitely step in. And we definitely have like kind of assigned roles, like, like he always takes the trash out or whatever. And, this is one thing that we have also figured out, like having, just designated things that we each do and
Mhm.
decided ahead of time really helps with fights. Like, especially when the babies are really little. We knew after having a first baby, like there's a ton of stuff. And a lot of times it's in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
You don't want to do anything. And you're like kind of mad if the other person doesn't pull their share. And so we like sat down and said, like, okay, this is your responsibility. This is my responsibility. We're going to like do it this way. And then after a period of time, we're going to evaluate and see if that seems fair. And so that's kind of how we have approached house chores and like, all the task stuff that you have to do. Like,
Okay.
recently we have, with our morning schedule and everything, like it works well for my husband to get the twins out of bed because I'm homeschooling our daughter. And then, so I think just having a decided
Yeah.
tasks like has really helped us a lot. And he does a lot for our stuff like that.
How did you decide on the tasks? Was it, I'm going to take this fishbowl and put all the tasks on a slip of paper and we're going to pick them? Or was it really like, okay, you don't hate this, I don't
Yeah.
hate this, so
Right.
this is what we're going to do?
It was kind of more like the second thing, and like a lot of trial and error. Like he really hates making breakfast for our twins, like hates it. And so like I don't really mind. I hate unloading the dishwasher. So he does that job while I might make the breakfast, and like we're both happy because we're both, not doing something that we hate. So yeah, it's a lot
Mhm.
more like take the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. But that's also such an important discussion, regardless of whether you stay home or not.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
so important to have that conversation with your partner and say, okay, we really have to figure this out, because yes, you may have a nanny, but a nanny's not going to do everything. They're not your housekeeper, nanny, dog walker. You still have responsibilities
Right.
besides, work. So I love that you had that conversation. Now, since you had the conversation about chores, I told you if there's nothing I could talk about. How did you have the conversation about like, romance and date night, and how has that gone? Because I know that when you have such infertility struggles, there
Mhm.
comes a point in your journey that the romance kind of takes a side seat. And
Mhm.
then you're like, okay, this is all clinical. We need to do it right now. Like, get ready, home slice. I'm going to piano
Yeah.
school. So it gets to, you get to have this weird kind of maturity that happens to your relationship, for better or for worse. But
Yep.
now that the kids are here, and now that you're home, and you're in the confinement of your home,
Mhm.
unless you're on a nature walk or going on a fun
Yeah. Yeah.
exploration, how does that work with him going out, and he could come home and feel really refreshed and feel like, okay, I want to spend time with you, and let's do this, and you're just like, really? Like, I
Yeah.
have, dishwasher guts, which is the thing that gets stuck where the dishwasher door opens. So I have
Right.
dishwasher guts on my shirt from today. How do you handle that, since were so good about talking about chores? Like, did you have a conversation about that?
Oh yeah, I think that that is something that we have had lots of conversations about, just, like expressing what I need and what he needs. And, that's part of the reason why, like, he's willing to like come and watch the kids, maybe even during work hours while I go out and get refreshed, so that I can have a little break or whatever. We have, I think, a really open dialogue. And I think for us, totally resonate with what you said about like the fertility stuff can like totally wreck the romance in your marriage because it is so clinical. And so I think like for us, just like what a huge relief to not be dealing with that stuff anymore, has kind of taken the pressure off in a way. And it's just like infused our relationship with fun again. And so there is some more like spontaneity, and just we're just like enjoying hanging out, which that sparks the romance too. And kind of going back to the previous conversation about bedtime, like we have for that reason had a
Yeah.
really strict bedtime schedule. Like we take the kids up like at 6:30 every night, and they're like in bed by 7:15, and like that gives us 3 hours or whatever to hang out and talk and kind of have some
Yeah.
decompression time and reconnection time. And I think that's sometimes hard to do, if your kids are not, if like your kids don't cooperate with the bedtime, or they're up in and out of bed a bunch. Like for us, that has really helped a ton to kind of just spark the romance back in our relationship, just having that time at night together.
Yeah. It's so important. And people think like, oh, I don't want to give them a bedtime. They don't seem tired. There's I could go on, like, literally I could sit here, Melissa, and I could give you a list of 700 reasons why your kids need to have a bedtime. But I would say, in all sincerity, that's probably the number one.
Yeah, it really is.
Because
Yeah.
if you guys are happy as a unit, then you're going to raise better children. You're going to be better people. Like, it's all connected. And when people don't realize that it's connected, and they think like, oh, it's this, and we start pointing fingers and you start the blame game, nah. If you just had a minute to sit together where
Yeah.
you didn't have, kids crawling on you all the time, or an overabundance of things where one person might be carrying a lot of the weight, it's really, it's tough, but it could make things a lot better if we could just get these kids to sleep.
Yes, I
Yeah.
know.
So simple. It's
It's a
such a
big deal.
simple thing. So I
Yeah.
love that, that you sleep train the kids, and you still have people that are adamantly against it, and they don't think that that's the way to go. And I say, good luck to you.
I know.
You'll probably eventually be Googling Twiniversity, how to get my twins to sleep. So
Yeah.
that's okay. We'll be here. Take your time. There's no rush. The sooner that you realize what works or doesn't work for you, then you could start really living whatever life that you want. So I'm curious, if you, okay, so your daughter, she's 5,
Mhm.
right? Thinking about her future.
Mhm.
What if she what if she decided that she went to this, great college, and now she has an MBA in finance, and I don't even know if that's what an MBA would give you, but I feel like it does. It
Sure.
sounded good. So she does this advanced degree, and then she says, Mom, I just really want to stay home. I
Yeah.
want to stay home and raise my family. How would you feel about that? Also knowing that you paid $200,000 in tuition for that MBA. How would you feel about that, Melissa?
Oh, I mean, I would be so supportive of her. I feel I don't know if that's so far away from now, but like, I just honestly, like the funny thing about this question is that's what she says she's going to do. She
Oh,
says she wants to be a doctor for 3 years
okay.
and then work and then be a stay-at-home mom. Like
Perfect.
that's already her plan.
I like it. I like it.
So I think that would be great.
I hope she marries into a very wealthy family to
Yep.
pay off all that debt. So now we know that's the route that we have to go. We have to find generational wealth, helicopter
Yeah.
money. We have to
Right.
find that. So now we have a new mission on those
You have
those
a
zoo
goal.
trips. Those zoo trips are going to take a turn now.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's great, and there's no reason why anybody shouldn't be supportive of whatever the heck our kids want to do, because we're raising them to be good people and to make good decisions. And so
Sure.
ultimately, if that's the decision that they make, it's a reflection on us and how great we did.
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
by you staying home and her saying that this is her job, that this is what she wants to do, it's basically just another way to say like that looks really cool what you're
Yeah,
doing, and I really want to do this. And it's like, what, how, you can't do better than that to get like a weird side eye compliment from your kids and
that's
say
right.
that they want to do what you want to do. That's the best.
I know. I totally agree with you.
I
It
love
is.
that.
It is.
See, that's got to fuel you for when you want to, rip your hair out and go into the bathroom
Yeah.
and shave your head quickly just to have a change of something. So it's little
Yes.
things like that that get you from moment to moment. So what are like some of the things that they've said or done that you said to yourself, I'm so glad I was home for that.
Mm. Oh, like one day I put Evie up for her nap, and then I came back downstairs, and McKinley, she's our 5-year-old, was sitting on the stairs, rocking Kanan back and forth while he was drinking his bottle. Like, I mean, he's like the same size as she is. She's sitting there rocking him and singing to him. And I just thought, oh, that is the cutest thing. And like, just, I don't know, McKinley will tell Evie all the time, I love you, sissy, sissy kissies, just like the little sweet things like that they do. And then obviously like the big milestones, like walking and talking and I don't know, pretty soon potty training. That's on the to-do list.
Gotcha. I got you
I don't know
covered
if
on
I'm
that
gonna be
one.
glad to be home for that one, but
Fear not, my friend. That's an easy one. Let's wait for the summertime for that, though. Let's
okay.
That's a seasonal thing. Let's worry so we can let them run around naked.
There you
Um,
go.
when with all that, the other thing that I want to say is that you're very present in your day.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people choose to stay home because they think that this was the decision that they should have made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily the decision that they wanted to make, but it's like, this is what should happen. This
Right.
is what my mother did. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what my grandmother did. Or there's even now you have, I think it really came up with the pandemic that people are kind of going back to basics, right? So you're doing this kind of big life assessment and trying to prioritize or reprioritize, what the heck you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people, they'll stay home and they're really not enjoying it like
Yeah.
you have. And of course, we know that not every day is going to be, puppy
Right.
dogs, sunshine, but there's people who get depressed
Mm-hmm.
from being home and sink into the quicksand of misery, and it's really hard to recover from that. Have you ever had any experience, be it yourself or your friends or your family, where you saw that may have been starting to happen? Or even through church, like even through, because you have a huge community. So the thing is you have a lot to tap into. Have you ever known somebody that maybe shouldn't have stayed home?
Yeah. So my best friend here knew that about herself. Like she went through her like 3-month maternity leave and she like knew that she always says, I'm a better mom because I work.
Mhm.
And it just like works so well for their family. And so I definitely think that, that's a healthier option for people who feel that way for sure. And there's definitely like I'm a huge proponent of like there's no shame on either side of whatever you decide to do. Like you're a good mom whether you're working for your family and you're being a good mom whenever you're around your kid. You're a good mom if you're home with them. Like
Mhm.
I just think like my friend, she's awesome. I love her so much. And she is such a good mom to her little boy. And that was clearly the right decision for them. I haven't actually seen anyone like stay home for a long period of time and like spiral kind of down like that. But it's just this is like kind of the after of
Yeah.
her decision. But I do think that like for her, that's definitely the
Yeah.
right decision to make.
It's definitely important that everybody stays in the conversation and
Mhm.
you're all on the same page talking about whether, you don't want to stay home anymore or you do want to stay home. It's a big decision to make. So there's definitely been times in Twiniversity where people, like we've met people who didn't have the conversations with their partner about that they didn't want to stay home and they felt like obligated because
Mhm.
this was a generational thing or that, the husband's family wanted to do that. But it's so important that everybody just keeps talking because if
Mhm.
you could just keep talking, then if you're happy or you're unhappy or whatever. And honestly, Melissa, like it's just great that you're a great example of what successfully being at home could be.
Mhm.
And I hate you a little bit for that because I
Oh,
want to go on nature trips and I want to put
yeah.
contact paper with, snails that I'm trapping in, you know, perpetual suspension of life in contact paper. I want to play that game, but I really do think that there's a lot that people could get from listening to you and knowing that it's more than just sitting on a couch and going from, feeding to diaper change, that you could have a good time and you can enjoy yourself. And look, you're enjoying it so much. You're like, nope, nobody's going to school. We're doing this.
Yep, we're all in.
I love that idea. I have such envy. I didn't cloth diaper. I didn't homeschool. All the
Yeah.
things I did wrong.
Oh, I did not cloth
Thank you.
diaper. That's a whole
Thank
new
God.
level of crazy
That
right
is. That
there,
is.
especially with twins.
Well, you know what? You may do it for your next set of twins because you
Oh
never
my
know. Because just because you've been through what you've been through
right.
doesn't mean that switches don't just get turned on somewhere. We've seen it time and time again at Twiniversity.
It
It's
is
that
true.
should be our tagline: is twins twice? What? Yep. Welcome. Welcome, Melissa. That's what I say. Well, Melissa, honestly, I really thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Yes.
I
Thank
hope that
you.
I didn't wreck the schedule too much today or throw
No,
everybody off.
it's
And
perfect.
please send your husband our regards to, because we know that he might be watching them right now while you
Yeah.
have this time. So thank you so, so much for playing with us today, Melissa. And so you just
Yes,
sit
thank
right
you.
there. And for the rest of you in the universe that are listening, I know I want to be Melissa's kid too. I really do. I want to go on zoo days. I want to hide under the table at art. I want to do all those wonderful things. But instead, you'll just have to hang out here with me at Twiniversity. So if you need anything, just know you could email us at community@twiniversity.com, or you could send us a direct message on any social platform. We're just at Twiniversity every single place in the world. And until next time, guys, just know that we're always like we're on 24/7 pretty much at twiniversity.com. So if you need anything, you need sleeping, you want to know how not to get them to hide under the table at art class, I actually feel like we have something about when things go rogue at activities. I feel like I got something written about that. It's there. So head on over there. And as always, I will see you later, alligators. Thanks so much for listening. Like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And until next time, see you later.